Melanie, there she is. Okay. Melanie Mow-Schumaker and she'll have to explain why there's two people in the picture, but I'll let her do that in a second. She's the new general manager of the Soquel Creek Water District, which she describes as a small water agency. I would amend that to say a small water agency that punches above its weight class. But anyway, a small water agency that relies on 100% local groundwater to serve approximately 50,000 coastside residents in Santa Cruz County. People who know Melanie as a superb communicator should also know that she has some serious civil engineering and public administration chops as is a registered engineer with the state of California, and she's led the PureWater Soquel program since 2016. So Melanie also just succeeded friend of Waterpalooza, the Ron Duncan, who is off doing other things, but just wanted to give him a shout out. So over to you, Melanie, and your mysterious friend.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having us today. And I did want to give Becca the opportunity to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Rubin. I'm the Public Outreach Coordinator here at Soquel Creek Water District.
So I thank you for inviting us, Dennis. I think I met you, and it was really in the infancy of Waterpalooza when I think you had it in person in the beginning years. So we've been, following Waterpalooza for some time. Yes, Ron has presented. And now I'm presenting, and Becca helped me put the slides together, and she had half an hour available. So I wanted her to sit here with me while we present. We often do a lot of co-presentations. She and I are the face of the project as well as many others. And we just love sharing this information. So I'm going to go ahead and queue up the slides. Share. Oh, wait. Go.
You need to go into presentation mode first.
And that's why I have you there.
While you're doing that, we had a tsunami warnings.
No, that one. The PowerPoint slideshow. Go like that. Oh. No, but okay.
Can everybody see that other stuff?
Yes.
Can you see all my buttons?
No.
Okay. Yes, we were actually on a team call as part of a full project execution. We have a team call that has about 20 people on it once a month. And during the call, Becca's phone got the earthquake alert.
Warning. And
so then everybody on the call was like, hey, do you guys feel it? And different people in different areas
felt it.
Yeah. So I think it was a
7.0.
In fact, there was somebody at this site right here, which is the PureWater Soquel facility that we also call the Santa Clear site. So they're doing testing there, and they felt the earthquake. And then we got on the radio and we asked people to, if they were in the low areas near the ocean, to depart from those areas just into a safe place. So quite an exciting day on day 2 of Waterpalooza here locally. I came on a little early. I loved being able to watch Hussein talk about valley water. This is a different type of case study related to water reuse. There are so many around California to learn from. So we're excited to be able to share the case study on PureWater Soquel, and also follow the Pacific Institute, who really talked a lot about, worldwide, nationwide projects. And then this project here is like what Dennis said. We're a small water agency, but with a very big problem. So we'll get to it. Okay. As Dennis mentioned, Soquel Creek Water District is a small water agency in Santa Cruz County. In that top right area, you can see a map of our service area. We are located in Santa Cruz County, and we cover Capitola, Aptos, Rio Del Mar, and then down to La Selva Beach, kind of where we consider between Santa Cruz and Watsonville. in the area of the Monterey Bay. We're a special district, so we're not a city or county in terms of local government. We only focus on water. We don't plan land use. We just have to meet the needs of the local land use agencies. All of our water is 100% from the groundwater basins that lie beneath the ground here in our area. And our community is primarily residential and tourist, very little ag in our area. So really the water that we rely on falls on this side of the Santa Cruz Mountains that goes into our groundwater basins, and then we extract that. So we're not connected to import water. It's all locally resourced. We have 16 active groundwater wells that are dispersed within our service area. So we don't have a centralized treatment plant that many people are familiar with, sometimes with surface water systems. And our water use has greatly declined. About 10 years ago, we were in the 4,000 acre feet per year. And due to conservation, due to just, I think people being more mindful of the challenges that we have here, our water use has now dropped to just under 3,000 acre feet per year. As I mentioned about our water supply, which is groundwater, it becomes the most challenging thing for us to protect, considering that we are just right by the coastline and we're battling seawater intrusion and contamination of ocean water into our freshwater resources. As I was listening, I heard Dennis say QR codes, so I did plop in a couple of QR codes into our slide deck. The QR code on the right is about a 1.5-minute video of seawater intrusion and what that phenomenon is locally here for us. It actually happens around the world. About 70% of communities that are along the coast will have seawater intrusion occur. For us, as you can see in that right side photo where it says critically overdrafted, our groundwater basin was one of 21 basins in California that was designated with what we kind of call locally as the scarlet letter of critically overdrafted and mandated by the state to be brought back into sustainability by 2040. So the designation was based upon the overdraft conditions and seawater intrusion. Oopsie, I had an advanced part of that. And in this bottom part of the slide, we did some aerial geophysical technology where we gathered data and analyzed where the seawater intrusion was coming up along the coast. The top part here is just to illustrate that we are a basin that has both municipal wells as well as private wells. The green boundary is our basin, and it is shared by thousands of private well owners and municipal wells. So, in a nutshell, there's a lot of straws that are, drinking from this one shared groundwater basin. Part of the solution, and that's kind of why we're here today, is to talk about PureWater Soquel. So the top part, the visual animation shows what seawater intrusion is. Basically, seawater is denser than freshwater, and what happens when there's not enough rainfall to replenish the basin and create a positive outflow, that seawater will come inland and into the groundwater basin. If you have a shallow well, if you have wells that are right along the coast, you could get salty wells, and that has occurred in some of the private wells in our area. Our wells are deeper, and we've done a lot of planning and mitigation to pull our production wells away from the coast. So far, none of our drinking water wells have impacted with seawater contamination, and we want to keep it that way. And one way to keep it that way is with the PureWater Soquel project, where we are going to be replenishing the groundwater basin with purified water, just similar to what Hussein mentioned. That purified water would create a seawater intrusion barrier to have that positive outflow of fresh water go out to the ocean, as well as replenish the basin so that ultimately it becomes groundwater and can be extracted. I think I got that one. So what is PureWater Soquel? PureWater Soquel is a large capital improvement project for us that incorporates treatment facilities, pipelines, seawater intrusion prevention wells. It spans multi-jurisdictions. Here in this picture, you can see that we have a treatment facility down here in this area, which is this green circle. That basically is where the source water of treated wastewater that's collected through our entire region is treated to secondary standards and then goes out to the ocean. And the whole point of the PureWater Soquel project is to put that water to beneficial reuse. So we take that treated secondary water, we're treating a small fraction to tertiary standards to irrigate a park and also for in-plant wash water needs and a construction fill station. But the majority of that secondary water will travel through this purple pipe and go to this star, which is the PureWater Soquel water purification facility. That's where the magic is happening, where we're purifying that water, and we have a couple slides following this. And then that purified water will go through another set of pipeline, and this is a 14-inch line, to the 3 strategically placed seawater intrusion prevention wells. And those are the wells that that kind of are those wells that I showed in the previous slide, which will allow that purified water to create that barrier and replenish the basin. Currently, the project is sized for 1.3 million gallons per day, but it's also designed to be expanded by twice its capacity to meet future needs. If the groundwater basin is not showing sustainability, we could expand the facility. There's also a need in our region for more water to meet drought and climate change. Diving in just a little bit deeper, there's always a lot of questions about like how did we put the project out for design and construction. So this table illustrates that we broke the project out into different components. The treatment project and the conveyance project we put out as progressive design build. That's a procurement process whereby we go out and we contract with one team that does both the design and the construction. Typically, that type of system is done to help accelerate speed in terms of schedule, but it's also done to be more of an iterative process in the design phase. For the seawater intrusion prevention wells, which are those 3 injection wells, we also had 8 monitoring wells. Those were done as traditional design bid build. We felt that we could do most of that on that, both because of schedule, but also because as a groundwater purveyor, we were much more familiar with how traditional wells are built and designed, and we could implement that to our seawater intrusion prevention wells. This is a treatment diagram just to kind of illustrate how that water is going from secondary water to purified water. Here is where we're showing we took the secondary effluent and we're treating it here at that, where on that other graphic you saw the purple star. That's the tertiary treatment. It has a cloth filter that the water goes through to then hit tertiary treatment level. But again, most of that water that we're having is going through the secondary pump station and then over to the Chanticleer site. Because this is a secondary trickling filter effluent water, we have a pre-treatment system which includes ozone, and then the traditional advanced water purification technology that is permitted through the state that is used at many of the plants in California, which includes microfiltration, reverse osmosis, and then hitting the water with UV light and advanced oxidation. We also do some post-treatment. Once water goes through that purification treatment process, it needs to have the pH adjusted and some post-treatment chemicals added, some minerals, so that the water mimics more what the water is in the groundwater basin. So once that water goes through that full treatment process, then it goes out to our seawater intrusion prevention wells. This treatment right here, microfiltration and reverse osmosis, is also a very familiar treatment process to desalination. One of the things in terms of our project development that we spent a lot of time and focus on was the permitting efforts, especially permitting a project like this in California, and permitting a project like this, which has a whole public process. We put out different engineering reports that helped facilitate the design and the permitting of the project. This matrix right here showed the different permits that we needed to acquire. There were a couple that were for land uses. Again, the tertiary treatment down at Santa Cruz had an engineering report, and much coordination needed to be done with the Division of Drinking Water. It also had the purification water. So the purified water had its own different permit and its own engineering report. Again, taking that purified water and then going to the ground. There was an engineering report. We had to do an advanced oxidation challenge test. That's happening as of today. That test is actually happening, so it's pretty exciting. And then DDW comes out and inspects the facility. These projects are heavily regulated, both in terms of the design, the operations and the startup and commissioning, and then the annual data and the water quality sampling that's required every day in annual reports. The other permit that we needed to do was related to the ocean discharge. When you have a recycled water project with purified water, you have the purified water, and you also have what they call a reverse osmosis concentrate. So the RO concentrate that is developed when the water goes through the treatment process is being sent out to the ocean and commingled with the existing treated wastewater from the Santa Cruz wastewater treatment plant. The city of Santa Cruz amended their permit last year so that our water now can be discharged with theirs, and that had its own separate permit process. So those are just the mechanisms and the reports and the steps that go through it. And this is an illustration of just all of the different parties and how we all have to work together. I think as Hussein mentioned, these projects take a lot of people to move them forward, and there's a lot of parts and pieces. So just to put together an engineering report, it required a lot of teamwork with the design builder, with our program team, with district staff, and then with multiple state agencies. So we worked a lot with the Division of Drinking Water, GAMA, which is the team at the State Water Resources Control Board specifically for groundwater, Division of Financial Assistance because we got grant funding, and then the Regional Water Quality Control Board because they're the permitting agency. The project itself, was very technical in nature, just because, as most capital improvement projects are, but it also had very important other arms of the project. And this one really was about agency collaboration and community support. These projects take a village. This is just a snapshot of the people that Becca and I talked to over the last 5 years, where we would have meetings with them, we would get letters of interest from them, statements of support. Some of these project partners actually required formal agreements. Some of these were local nonprofits, neighborhood groups. We needed to talk to everybody about this project and how vital and how important it was. And this was an ongoing step of the project, just as important as the technology part of the design and the construction was the community support. This is an illustration of funding. So, these projects cost a lot. There's no way to say it otherwise. The project was designed and built with a budget of $195 million, which included contingency. When we were first evaluating this project, and as Dennis mentioned, I've been on this project for about 10 years, we had gone through a lot of things that you take a snapshot of what a project may cost, and that is what they call an engineer's estimate at a class floor estimate. And a class floor estimate is basically based upon, about a 5 to 10% feasibility design. And there's a swing of it, that snapshot cost could be plus or minus 50%. And as design gets further along, as you understand, if there's land needs, you understand the soft costs of engineering, permitting. For our project, we had CEQA for the full EIR that got challenged with lawsuits that we've had to defend, successfully defended. But all of those are program costs. And so way back when we were first envisioning the project cost what we thought $90 million to do the 2 treatment projects and the pipeline and the 3 seawater intrusion wells. We anticipated the project to be paid through bonds, and we estimated that those bonds would have about a 3% interest rate. So when you looked at the cost of the project, how much money we would have to pay in terms of debt and repayment, the adjusted full-on cost back in 2018 was $137 million. As the project advanced, as we started getting bids and as we were building, we got more costs that were realized, but we also went through COVID, supply chain, everything else in terms of the project got much more expensive. And that is seen throughout all projects, whether they're water, infrastructure, homes, everything. And so for PureWater Soquel, our project cost went to $195 million. What we are very blessed with and are very fortunate with is that we also were able to get grants and low interest loans through the state, the Bureau of Reclamation, and EPA's WIFIA program. So with that, we were able to really save we got $95 million in grants. And so the remaining part of that, the balance, when we take $195 million, we take the $95 million in grant money, and then we assumed, and these were low interest loans, we assumed and actually realized that instead of borrowing money at the 3% interest rate, we were able to borrow money at a 1.34% interest rate. So that's the calculated interest payments that we had, that 22 million. The cost when we're complete will be just under 122 million. So while the project costs actually increased because of the grant money, our adjusted cost is lower than what we had projected in 2018. Our finance manager likes to call this kind of like a miracle.
Miracle project.
A miracle. So just kind of wanting to show that, because a lot of people look at that and they go, oh wow, these projects cost a lot. These project costs are increasing. But it's really important to show that there are a lot of outside funding that is available to projects like this. I'm gonna let Becca talk about that.
Sure. So with projects of this size, and especially the sensitivity of taking sewer water and purifying it and putting it into the ground, we knew it was going to be really important to get out to the public as much as we possibly could and as soon as possible at the very beginning of the project. So when I came on this, actually to the district in 2016, my entire job, pretty much, I would say 95% of it was dedicated to getting out into the public and speaking to anyone and everyone we could. All our elected officials, HOAs, chambers of commerce, real estate agents, you name it, we made a meeting with them and did a presentation and explained to them our big problem and why we needed this project to get online. At the same time, we knew that you can only reach so many people by going out in person. So we made sure we had a website with all the information available for people to go and learn about it themselves, which had information sheets, videos about how the water is going to be purified, information about seawater intrusion. And then every time we actually asked for a meeting, and at the end we would ask them to sign up for our email updates and then also for a statement of support so that we could put that on the website, and that gave us that confidence. It gives people that confidence. Oh, look at all these people that are super like excited and like support this project. So my advice is, get out there a lot and all the time. And then once we got into construction, we started doing construction tours. sometimes with our committees, but mostly with just people in our industry, it required everyone to be in full PPE or protection equipment. So steel-toed boots, hard hats. But we made a whole library of those things so people that don't own those could still go out on the project and check it out being built. But nothing like this has ever been built in our county. And so we knew that it was going to be really important to take those elected officials now, they've heard about this project now for 5 years. Let's take them on those tours and really get them excited for it.
Thank you.
Welcome.
This is just a snapshot. I encourage anybody, if they want to learn more about this film series, it was done by BBC Storyworks. It was part of the International Water Association's Beneath the Surface film series, sorry. And it was really great because it was a worldwide film series, and the PureWater Soquel project was featured as the first project of 16. I encourage you, I put the URL code there to watch our film, but also watch other projects that are out there around the world, because it's pretty amazing of all of the great projects out there. I think what we wanted to wrap up with on that was just kind of a reflection of like what PureWater Soquel is. If there are those that are joining today, what are just some quick lessons learned that you may partake both from the actual kind of case study things, but just kind of some words of wisdom. For us, it was develop a strong team and a permitting plan. These projects are multi-year. For us, it's a 10-year ordeal. This has been like a child, in terms of, gestating for all this time. And then now we're getting the project online. We're hoping to complete everything and start running water through it in the beginning of 2025. So you need a really strong team that you can trust, and a strong team that has competencies in all the different aspects. Meet early and often, but also schedule focused topic meetings. So again, we mentioned just today how we were on a call with 20 people. This is like 5 years into really the meat of it, and we're still meeting because there are issues that need to be addressed, and different people need to know what's going on. So once you create the team, you need to keep the team moving. This one right here is become a good dancer, lead, follow, and be nimble. I think really why we want to stress this is that there are times where we're going to be, needing to be out front and making sure that people are understanding and following. And Becca kind of talked a little bit about that with the outreach, but be nimble. And that's also because, another just kind of lessons learned for us, we had the facility sited at a totally different location. The neighbors did not like it, and we were nimble. We moved it. That gained a lot of project support. It actually ended up being a better location, and it also built, I think, good community will. So just because you think you have the full thing all set and designed, again, just be nimble. Different dance partners, different types of moves. Again, that I think goes to that adaptability and the resiliency that you need to partake in a project like this. And then, of course, plan way ahead and incorporate review times. Once a project goes into construction, critical path is everything. And there are things that you can control and things you can't control. And working with state regulators, they're busy and they have a lot of demands. So for us, we really wanted to make sure that we built in review times with the regulatory agencies. And then the last, I think we'll just wrap up with is, celebrate those milestones. These projects, there's project fatigue, there's ups, there's down, there's things sometimes where it may not go as planned, and you've got to just be nimble, adaptable, and go forward. But every time you hit a milestone, celebrate with the team, because at the end of the day, these kind of projects are about the journey as well as what it's supposed to do, which is for us to solve seawater intrusion. And with that, again, I talked about PureWater being being a child, those are my two kids. The one on the right, Soquel Creek Water District has been trying to get a supplemental water supply since 2000, and he was born in 2000. So I gauge the project's development also with in real life with my kids' age, and we do this and we put our heart and soul into projects like this for the next generation. So thank you for letting us talk about the project today.
Well, thank you, Team PureWater Soquel.
And I think we used all the time. Sorry, Dennis.
No, we're fine with it. And it looks like your timelines are getting pretty tall there in that picture.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll start off with a question from Hussein. Basically, he has in the chat, I mean, there's so many challenges implementing your project. What would you consider the most challenging one?
Great question.
I mean, there's the technology is there. I feel like in projects like this, I think the most challenging thing is collaboration and building trust with project partners in the community, and building a strong team.
Building the team. A couple number answer questions. What is right now, what is the capacity or what is produced?
Yeah,
I guess two different questions.
Yeah, the project is aimed to produce 1.3 million gallons per day or 1,500 acre feet per year. It sounds small. You know, I know I think Valley Water's demo facility is larger than that. But again, it's what is it going to be doing for us? That's about 30% of our water needs. And it's also what would happen if we didn't have that 1.3 million gallons per day of purified water, and that's protecting against that seawater intrusion. The project, though, is designed for double capacity, so we could expand it to 3,000 acre feet or 2.6 million gallons per day. And that is really so that we can address, other water needs in the future. All of the pipelines that we talked about have already been built and increased in size. We would need to do another EIR, and we would need to expand and build out the above ground infrastructure, the treatment facilities. And then if there were additional needs for injection wells, would also need to be part of that next phase.
Interesting. Yeah, well, it looks like you're well set up for increased capacity if needed. I mean, as you said, you're familiar with doing injection wells. And the 1.3 MGD level, the brine, I was interested, you're using the city of Santa Cruz outfall under their permit, which I'm sure Hussein is jealous of. But now I know with Valley Water, I think it's something like about 12% of the, well, based on X amount of water produced, about there's about 12% of that might be, the brine water.
Right.
And does that hold for you?
Yeah, I don't have the exact percentages off the top of my head, and a lot of it has to do with, obviously wastewater is generated on a diurnal curve and also just based on different seasons. The city of Santa Cruz averages about 6 to 8 million gallons per day of treated secondary effluent that goes out to the Monterey Bay. There's also the city of Scotts Valley's wastewater that also gets discharged and shared into that same outfall that goes out into the ocean. So what we're able to do, though, is what we did is we ran a line back there. We don't have to go to the headworks. It could go right into the outfall box and then be commingled because it's already been through that secondary treatment, right? It doesn't have to
yeah.
go back to the the headworks. One of the things I think that communities are having to make sure they address is doing the dilution studies in terms of meeting ocean discharge permit compliance. There's different modeling that's been done. Monterey has done some different modeling styles. We will be doing, if we can discharge right now at this amount. If we expand the facility, we'll go through that permitting again to make sure that we can meet the dilution requirements for ocean discharge. But that is, an important parameter related to permit compliance of handling the side stream of advanced water being produced.
Yeah, and Hussein mentioned, I mentioned 12%, and he mentioned more like 15 to 20. Yeah, that's a substantial thing, but the ocean delusion is a nice plus based on your citing. So,
Yeah, and I think some things to remember of just, desalination are also projects that are going around in California. And, reverse osmosis concentrate is, the brine is much more salty. That needs to kind of go into that whole dilution equation factor when
Yeah.
projects are being done. Recycled water is much more lower TDS and chloride levels than desalination. So some of the blending on that is not as great as what you would see with desalination.
So if you're keeping score at home, TDS is total dissolved solids. And I just wanted to
Thank you.
mention
No,
that. And but also for the tertiary treated water, which would be considered recycled water, they got the shopping carts out of it. But I'm sorry, I always kind of mention that. But what is the TDS levels that say are City of Santa Cruz water or the?
I don't know. What
Okay,
is
just
I can look that
wondering
up and
because
I'll put it in the chat after.
yeah, but it has a pretty. I know around in Santa Clara, Palo Alto, Sunnyvale and stuff. It has pretty high in salts, so that's something that needs to, it's over like 800, and so it needs to really get pushed down. And
in their wastewater.
in the the tertiary treated water. Yeah. So anyway, just kind of curious. And there is another question that came up about other water districts on the coast facing similar issues. I would think that would be more the saltwater intrusion and how are they addressing them. I always say there's a reason it's called the Salinas Valley.
Oh, saline.
Yeah, saline and that intrusion. And obviously you mentioned Monterey to the south of you.
You're right.
They have seawater intrusion 8 miles in down in Monterey County. And
it's a major issue because you can't, there's, I don't know, there's finding things that grow on that land is, let's just say that's a challenge.
Yeah, and there's similar projects that are being implemented down in San Luis Obispo County, Ventura County. So, all
Oceanside, San Diego.
Yeah. So it is basically a California coastal issue. Yeah, it's tough stuff. So, it's really great to hear actually that the project as it is now is providing 30% of your demand goal. So that's higher than I thought. Anyway, thanks for double teaming this.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Great to hear.